What's up, everyone? Welcome to Game Conclave. This is VBerg. We've got our Sunday Game and News roundup from last week, as well as all the releases and DLC coming out this week that we are excited for. So let's start that off with Atomfall, which is coming to us from Rebellion Games, the creators of the Sniper Elite series. This one's going to be a single-player survival action game set in an alternate 1960s England. The game story is going to be based around the 1957 wind-scale nuclear disaster, and we'll see the Lake District turned into a radioactive quarantine zone. 5 years after the disaster, you'll awaken in a bunker with amnesia, because it's a video game and it does have RPG elements, and RPG equal amnesia, so yeah. You'll be thrust out into the world to unravel the disaster's secrets. You'll find yourself surrounded by cults, rogue government agencies, and remnants of the military. You'll scavenge for supplies, craft weapons, barter, and interact with a bunch of quirky-ass British country folk while managing your health and heart rate, which can impact combat if it gets too elevated. You'll utilize stealth or smash and bash enemies, as conserving ammo may be essential. It looks like it's going to be a fun and creepy ride, reminiscent of Fallout and Bioshock to an extent. It's going to be dropping on the Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and PC on March 27th. AI Limit is an action RPG from Sense Games comprised of former Tencent devs who worked on Honor of Kings. It's set in the bleak, post-apocalyptic land of Havenswell, where humanity is barely hanging on after collapse. You play as the warrior Arissa, who is digging into her past while facing off against strange monsters in this ruined land. The combat is looking quick and intense. You'll mix and match weapons, cast spells, time your dodges, and engage with other Souls-light elements. The aesthetics of this one have a pretty cool, dark, sci-fi, anime vibe thing kind of going on. I don't know, looks cool. It's going to be coming to PS5 and PC on March 27th.
The mud is the ocean of consciousness and energy from which you are born.
Dark Deity 2 takes place on the continent of Varroa, where peace is hanging on by a precarious thread as the Azvarellian Empire advances. The story is about a group of heroes banding together to defend their homeland. The game is set 25 years after the events of the first title, and we'll actually be playing as some of the descendants from the first Dark Deity. So expect even more strategy and intense turn-based battles as we customize characters from 45 branching classes. It's going to be coming to PC on March 24th. No word yet on any potential console releases, but hopefully those will be coming down the pipeline later on. Alright, and for new games that were announced this week, we've got two that were actually already announced, but they look cool, and we finally got some new info on them, so we wanted to cover. Cronos The New Dawn from Bloober Team is going to be a new survival horror IP after their success with Silent Hill 2. They stated the game was inspired by films like The Thing and games like Dead Space. It's going to take place in an alternate history 1980s where the world ended in a post-apocalyptic event. You'll be playing as a time traveler who can survive in the outside world. You'll fight these strange creatures known as orphans, and there will be a body dismemberment system akin to what we saw in Dead Space, and that's awesome. It'll be coming sometime later this year for Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and PC. Okay, and as I mentioned, this other one was also announced a while ago, but we didn't have a release date till now, and it is Deliver at All Costs. You play as Winston Green, a down-on-his-luck delivery driver in the 1950s who has to make his deliveries no matter the cost. And so he'll just slam his truck through shit and blow things up. And it just looks hilariously fun. I'm really looking forward to this one. It's going to be releasing on May 22nd on the Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and PC. Alright, now it is time once more for the Rumor Mill. There really wasn't too much going on this last week. Just some God of War rumors again. It feels like every week or two there's some new God of War rumor, and yeah, anyway. According to Jeff Grubb of Giant Bomb, there is a God of War game coming later this year, but it's some sort of side story spin-off title that's going to take place in Greece, so presumably prior to the events of the 2018 God of War and God of War Ragnarok. So who knows? We'll see if this pans out. It feels like people, particularly on Twitter, just like to make up rumors about God of War and see, which dolts out there like us talk about them, but yeah, if anything ever manifests, we'll be sure to let you know. Alright, and for game sales updates, we have some interesting news from Square Enix that the game Chrono Trigger has sold 5 million copies across all platforms. And what's kind of interesting about that is that Chrono Trigger sold 2.5 million copies on the Super Nintendo when it came out. So that means in the last 30 years, it's doubled its lifetime sales across all platforms. Which makes me wonder how many copies will come out if they ever do make that rumored remaster or remake. And, this will be kind of controversial statement. go ahead and tell me how dumb I am in the comments. But I just kind of hope that if they do remake or remaster this one, after that, they just kind of leave it alone. The original writer of Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, Masato Kato, who's hardly ever given any credit for his contributions to the games. He also developed the double and triple tech system and did a ton. But he no longer works at Square Enix. And the composer Yasunori Mitsuda, who's a very good friend of his, has said that unless Masato is brought on board, he won't work on any Chrono projects. So the original writer of both games and the original composer for both games may not be brought back if they decide to do anything else with this. And considering that the original series character designer Akira Toriyama has also passed on, it just feels weird to talk about a potential sequel or anything like that when so many of the key elements that made the game in the first place are no longer around or treated welcomely by the publisher. It just makes me say, just leave it alone. I don't know. If they're ever going to do anything with it, I think that they should bring back Masato Kato, they should bring back Yasunori Mitsuda, and they should bring back Hironobu Sakaguchi. Let them finish the trilogy they already wrote many years ago for the planned ending called Chrono Break, and after that, leave it be. Let it be its thing. Not every game needs to have 20 new iterations on, per decade, and I feel like Chrono's one of them. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just my grumpy old man take. All right, and for the last sales update figure today, we have got Assassin's Creed Shadows. Assassin's Creed Shadows, as you can see here on the screen, has 2 million players. Now, you'll probably notice I didn't say how many copies the game had shipped, nor did I say how many it had sold, nor did I say how many it's reached. Well, that's because Ubisoft, in this initial statement, didn't give us any of that information. They simply stated the game has 2 million players. And so I'm not really sure what that means. We're just getting accustomed to the reach terminology to deal with people playing games through Game Pass and other streaming rental services. And now we just have number of players from some people. So we don't actually really know what that means. We don't know how many units that it sold. We don't know anything about it in any way, shape, or form, except that 2 million individuals did something with the game, whether that be playing it for 10 minutes and refunding it. We don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and take a guess that the game's not doing quite as well as they expected or hoped, and that they're using this lack of terminology and being vague to kind of, assuage the investors. But it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this game. I personally haven't had a chance to play it myself yet, but, is it going to be an all-time great title for Ubisoft and save the company, or is this just going to be the final nail in the coffin for them? I don't know. We'll find out later on, but I'm not looking forward to them and various other publishers becoming even more vague and obtuse about communicating milestones with the rest of us. All right, and for general news, we got a couple of fun stories. At least we think they're fun. So let's go ahead and start off with Silent Hill F. This one's pretty funny. So Silent Hill F was refused classification in Australia because we assume the game's probably so damn gory and twisted and filled with so much dark imagery and themes that the Australians can't handle it. Yeah, if you didn't know, they are super, super censorious down under. So I think that'll actually be a huge selling point, though, for a lot of horror fans. I mean, they're going to find out that the game is so extreme that the Australians can't even play it. I think a lot of horror fans, ears just kind of like perked up hearing that, and they're like, oh crap, this might be a must-play title for me. But yeah, I don't think anyone who's a big horror aficionado is going to be too upset to find out that the game's so extreme and gory, it's getting banned in certain states or refusing classification and will not be available. That just is like, music to their ears. All right, and another fun story we had from Split Fiction. This one is just super awesome. So it turns out that there was a hidden level in Split Fiction really late in the game. We actually didn't even cover this stage in our review because we wanted to keep some of those later stages, secret for our viewers, because honestly, there are some amazing sequences in the last 3 stages of the game, as well as some of the best story moments. So we tried to make sure we didn't spoil any of those, but in one of those later stages is a secret level known as the Laser Hell. And 2 streamers apparently beat it, and they were from China, I believe. And once they beat it, the game started playing in-game a video of Joseph Fares, the game's director, inviting them to Hazelight Studios to get a sneak preview of their upcoming title. And so they uploaded it, and Joseph Fares responded to them online saying, absolutely, this is legitimate. and congratulated them. So these two lucky players are going to get the opportunity to fly out to Sweden sometime and check out their latest game, and that's just super cool. I love that Hazelight does stuff like this, secret levels and all hidden stuff and Easter eggs. This is a super special developer, and I hope they are always protected from EA's nefarious clutches, who they have a publishing contract with. Speaking of people who need to be protected from the industry's clutches, Sven Vink, the CEO of Larian, took to Twitter to mock, and I don't even know who it was he was mocking. He said it was like industry chatter at like the GDC over the weekend, but he was mocking these CEOs or heads of marketing or one of these such duders or dudettes at one of the big publishers, who was apparently talking about how they think, well, single-player games are dead again, and we hear this rhetoric all the time. I mean, the head of EA said single-player gaming was dead back in like 2012, and that they started forcing, multiplayer aspects into single-player games that they weren't needed. They were pointless, but anyway. We've been hearing for 35 years now that single-player gaming is dead, and, well, it's still here. And, yeah, anyway, Sven went on to Twitter to just sort of mock this idea, and he said, it's time for the annual, the single-player games are dead rhetoric. And yeah, single-player games will never be dead, as long as they're made well. And Sven is absolutely right. There's a reason that people are still buying games like Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross that we mentioned earlier. There's a reason that people are still buying Divinity Original Sin 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Red Dead Redemption 2, Assassin's Creed 4, Doom. The list goes on and on and on. People are still buying and playing all kinds of single-player games. And, we're not even scratching the list of amazing single-player games out there. What the industry really needs to do, in my opinion, is slow their roll on all these games coming out and focus on high-quality titles. That's it. Stop trying to make so much stuff and make something so great that people want to play it. That's the secret. That's the secret to success. That's the reason why single-player gaming has not and will never die. There are games out there that are just so good, someone just gets to escape from the world and experience a great game. That's all it takes. And that's the end of my soapbox rant for the day. Alrighty, if you've had any of these stories funny, interesting, or even depressing, be sure to let us know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, give us a like and subscribe, and as always from all of us here at Game Conclave, thank you so much for watching.